Welcome to the June 27, 2017 Selectmen's meeting in the Selectmen's Chambers at 272 Main Street in Townsend. 1.1, call the meeting to order and ask for a roll call vote.
Sue Lucio present.
Cindy King is present.
And Gordon Clark present. Could you please at this time join us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
.3, I'd like to announce that this meeting is being tape recorded. If there's anyone else who's going to be tape recording in the audience, I see no one at this time. Chairman's additions or deletions. When this meeting was originally posted, it was the intention of the chair that would be limited to matters requiring immediate attention like annual appointments, financial transfers, and time-sensitive permits. So giving that, at this time, I would like to delete 2.1. Should be the water commissioners. We sent them a request to meet with us, and they're unavailable. And then 4.8 and 4.9 and 5.1, and we'll try to reschedule these at the next meeting. Moving on to...
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
4.8 is just a quick question for clarification.
Okay, just, here's the only problem I had is that normally the chairman, before stuff's put on, is involved in the process, and these were put on without me having any knowledge. But if it's just a quick question, if it's all right with you, Cindy?
Sure.
Sorry, so go ahead, Sue, if you... Well, I'll wait till we get
Yeah,
to 4.8.
I just appreciate it. It's just a quick
Absolutely.
question.
So I will
Thank
amend
you.
that we're going to delete 2.1, 4.9, and the one and 5.1. Is that, we have those now? Okay.
Yes, sir.
And if I get off track, please help. We're going to skip 2.1 as Mr. Crowley, could you just give us a brief that we did send out a formal request? For
Yes, sir.
them?
A request was made verbally to the superintendent and then a follow-up in email to invite the superintendent and the Board of Water Commissioners to the meeting this evening to discuss the sanitary survey that was received by the office just last week on Tuesday and emailed to each of you directly that afternoon. It wasn't until Saturday morning at around 10 o'clock that I received an email indicating that the invitation was being declined and that the superintendent informed me that the board was going to take the matter up at their next meeting, and then that we'd be more than welcome to join them at that meeting, and until they had a chance to go over the matter, they didn't think it appropriate to come before the board and have any discussion.
Okay, good. The only thing I would ask is that we need to make sure when we meet that there's two separate issues here. We had a meeting at one of our meetings here. It's the labor issues because of conflicting councils and that, and then the other issues of the report. And maybe if they feel comfortable, if they could give us an update on how they're doing on the audit and the that type, if they put a program into place, if they feel comfortable doing that. Would that make sense?
Mr. Chair, we did have a discussion at the last meeting about scheduling that probably for the July meeting.
All right.
To have a discussion with them on those three issues.
3 or 2 issues? No.
It's three. It's the labor issues,
Okay.
the general autonomy based on the town meeting vote,
Yeah.
and then the update on the audit on inventory control.
So we would need to make it 4 issues now because
This is new, correct?
Right. So the only thing with Sue and Cindy agreeing with this here is that we just need to be very careful about the labor issues because there's collective bargaining and the union and then another issues. You know, so
On the labor one, Mr. Chairman, the superintendent and I have talked a couple times on it, and the attorney Doucette, who has been speaking with the water department, had expressed an interest in writing to attend that meeting and to have town council attend the meeting. My comment back to that would be that any discussion would need to be a tripartite discussion because you have union that has a stake at this legally, and any discussions or attempt at an agreement that is in contradiction to the collective bargaining agreement, we would be in violation of the law. And by we, I mean you, because you are the signatories on the collective bargaining agreement. So,
Point of order, though. Should we be talking about it? Because isn't this 411 to discuss the planned meetings with the water commissioners?
It is.
All right.
Yeah, so it is on the agenda.
Okay, so you're taking that one up now?
Well, maybe it's my fault, I just did ask for a quick update, and we were just trying to
Okay.
plan, well, we can, if that makes more comfortable, so we can move it on to that.
Well, I think we're pretty much done.
All right,
with it.
good.
Yeah, but it is on the agenda, just so it's not something we're speaking about without it being agenda.
Thank you. Can we go to 3.1 now, please? Annual appointments, Mr. Kryler?
Yep, you have a list attached in your packets of the annual appointments. And I would defer to Kelly, who put the packet together.
I received all of the appointments throughout the different departments, and I composed the appointment list here for the fiscal year 18. So, if you would, just
Move the list,
move the list.
unless there are any
Be
objections.
approved.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Right, Sue, you have a question? And I'll go to
Well,
Cindy.
then
after.
Cindy can go first.
Well, I just want to keep it so we keep the same
Okay.
format. I don't want, because, okay, Sue, you have any questions, please?
It may be the same one that Sydney has. I don't have any problem with just making a motion to accept this as printed on the report, but to just keep in mind that there are different lengths of time for these. Okay? I don't want people thinking this is all one-year appointments.
Yeah, there are some 1 year, 5 year, 3 year, 5 year.
And will we be putting this up on our site or something?
I can.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that way, if people had any inquiries as to how long it was for, they'd be on our
Yeah,
site.
absolutely.
Yeah, we have
Post
the
it on
motion that just says, as stated.
As stated in the
Dates as
report.
stated.
Yeah.
Cindy, do you have any questions?
Yeah, I just, maybe I missed something at the election. It says Board of Health, Jim LeQuier, for a 3-year term. Isn't he elected?
Yes, that's an elected position. That doesn't belong on here.
My mistake, he sent me an appointment letter.
He did?
Yeah, like a request, so as I was going through them, I missed that, I should have checked.
Oh, okay, no, that's, if somebody sent you, that would make sense. You just kind of trust him.
He sent it in.
Okay.
Okay.
So,
Is he on the conservation?
No.
Okay, I'm just
Oh,
asking.
no, he's not one of the new appointments.
No.
Okay,
No.
that's all I was at, just double check. So could we amend it to just, in the motion, to exclude the position?
Yeah,
Would that
absolutely.
work for everybody?
Yeah.
All right, I'm glad, thank you, and Sue, for catching that, and it's fine. It's easier now than later. Any other questions, folks?
That was the only one that jumped out at me.
All right, thank you. I would entertain a motion at this time, if someone would like to do that.
I move that we make appointments of personnel/officials effective June 27th, 2017, per the attached, with the deletion of the Board of Health item.
Is there only one Board of Health item?
Second.
Motion's been made second, all in favor? Aye. Aye. Let the record show it's unanimous. Thank you all for that. And then, we're moving to 4.1. Review, approve request from Fire EMS to deposit Mass Health reimbursements in the amount of $15,158 into ambulance receipt reserve account. Mr. Kryler.
Very briefly, the second paragraph in the chief's memo, as a result of the program, finding that our allowable costs for Mass Health services exceeded the Mass Health interim payments received through the traditional fee-for-service billing. Therefore, we have received an additional reimbursement in the amount of $15,158. Essentially, what that means is the cost for us to provide the ambulance services to Mass Health beneficiaries exceeds the fees we're allowed to bill. The chief is respectfully requesting the funds received in the amount of $15,158 be placed in the ambulance receipts reserve account as they are reimbursement funds for providing ambulance service to Mass Health beneficiaries.
Sue, do you have any questions?
I just have a question on that. I'm assuming that she's holding on to the check,
Yes.
wondering where to put it?
Yep.
Okay. So this isn't like taking it from general fund that she already deposited in? And okay. Thank you.
Cindy, do you have any questions on that 4.1?
Nope, is this the letter that we're using, or is there, it's not a transfer, so it's a regular letter. Okay, never mind. I know we just have the transfers. Okay.
Thank you. At this time, I would entertain a motion, if someone's...
I move that we direct the town accountant to what? deposit the $15,158 received from Mass Health. It is from Mass Health,
Mass
right?
Health Ambulance CPE program.
CPE program, to have that deposited into the ambulance receipts reserve account, as they are reimbursement funds for providing ambulance services to the Mass Health beneficiaries.
Second.
Motion's been made and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Let the record show it's unanimous. Thank you. Moving on to 4.2. Review, sign a Board of Health contract for environmental monitoring and reporting provided by Weston and Sampson for a 3-year period in the sum of $52,000. Any questions?
Oh, sorry, just, this is a standard form contract. Board of Health has already executed, as you can see, and it would be required that the Board of Selectmen execute in order to make it real.
Any questions, Sue?
Nope.
Cindy?
Do you have who else got the original? Okay.
Good. I would entertain a motion at this time, if anyone's...
I move that the board approve the signing of a Board of Health contract for environmental monitoring and reporting provided by Weston and Sampson for a 3-year period in the sum of $52,000.
Second, Cindy?
Second.
Motion's been made and second. All in favor? Aye. Let the record reflect that that is unanimous.
Is that coming down for signatures?
Yes, we'll take a little pause here.
Oh, there it is.
We won't have Kelly contacting us tomorrow to come back.
Yeah, that's... We'll get this
Especially
down.
since we're voting
Make
to
sure we
sign
just get it done.
Thank you, everybody. Makes it a lot easier, a lot going on here. 4.3, review, comment, planning board, board mandatory referral referencing 139 Highland Street, renewal of accessory apartment special permit. Any questions, Sue?
Nope.
Cindy?
Nope.
Entertain a motion at this time?
Move that we thank the board for referring it to us with no comment.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Let the record show it's unanimous with a no comment. 4.4, review, comment, planning board mandatory referral referencing 52 Blood Road, renewal of accessory apartment special permit. Any questions, Sue? Or Cindy? Okay, entertain a motion.
I move that the board thank the planning board for their referral, and that we have no comment.
Second.
Motion's been made second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Let the record show it's unanimous, and the board would state no comment. Moving on, just give me a second, please, here, to 4.5, review, comment, planning board mandatory referral referencing 283 Townsend Hill Road, renewal of a accessory apartment special permit. I believe there's no questions on this. Okay. I'll entertain a motion at this time, please.
Move to thank the planning board for the referral, and no comments at this time. Thank you.
Second.
Motion's been made and second. All in favor? Aye. Let the record reflect it's unanimous with no comment. 4.6, review, comment, planning board mandatory referral referencing 20 Laurel Woods Drive, renewal of accessory apartment special permit. I'm assuming that there may be no questions at this point and would entertain a motion.
Motion to thank the planning board for the referral, and no comments.
Second.
Motion's been made and second. All in favor? Aye. Let the record reflect it's unanimous with a no comment from the board. Thank you. That was a lot of work done in quick time, folks, so thank you both. 4.7, discuss sign approval for use of COA van as shuttle for Recreation Department Circus. Mr. Kryler.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In your packets, you should see a copy of a memorandum from Townsend Recreation. It is to whom it may concern, and it is related to the Townsend Recreation borrowing the town's Council on Aging van for shuttling people that are interested in attending the circus and that would need to park at the high school. So it was determined that the town houses and pays for insurance on the vehicle and is determining authority on how it should be used, verbal approval of use with the Recreation Department being billed for gas, and the bus driver was arranged between Karen Canfield Moore, Director of the Senior Center Council on Aging, with Alice Kennedy, Recreation Commissioner in Townsend. The town administrator and the police were also informed of the plan and had no issues with the plan going forward. We would like approval to run the shuttle for the circus event on July 12th from 3:30 p.m. to 10 p.m. And there is a spot for the Senior Center Council on Aging signature, Recreation Department signature, PD signature, my signature, and the Select Board signature. I've been in communication with Karen. The Council on Aging is meeting on this next week, and she sees no reason that they won't offer their approval as well. So this is before you because it wasn't certain that you'd be meeting between now and the circus, so they needed to make certain to get your consideration.
Any questions, Sue?
I do have a question. Everything, I mean, they've talked to Karen, they've talked to the TA and the police, and what about the high school? Because right now, they're in the middle of moving everything.
Yep.
I just wondered what the parking situation would be down there.
They've arranged with the high school already and have approval to use the lots for parking. It'll be marked, it'll be monitored with volunteers.
Okay, good. Okay, that's it.
Cindy?
All set. I just think we need more buses.
Yes, well,
Generally
actually,
speaking, not...
it's nice to
necessarily.
see, though we have limited buses
Yes, this
there.
is good that we're able to share it with
I
you.
think the seniors use it for one of their events every year. I'm trying to think.
No, we use it for
Is it
the
every day?
Oh, no,
Earth
what?
Day.
What do we have to give special?
Earth Day we used it.
Earth Day, I'm sorry, but the seniors came to us and actually presented it and supported that, so that's awesome. All right, I would entertain a motion on 4 point whatever it is. there.
4.7. I move to approve the use of the COA van as a shuttle for the Recreation Department circus
I just have a question for,
on July 12th.
do we need to sign anything on this? or-
Yep, there is a form on the bottom here for...
Okay.
Just for the chair? Or-
Yeah, just the
Well,
chair.
fine.
Okay. Will you empower me, you two fellow members here, to sign?
Sure.
Okay, thank you. Do we have a second on that?
Yep.
Motion's been made in second, all in favor?
Aye. Sign away.
This way you don't have to chase us down, Kelly, right? There you go. Okay. Moving to 4.10, normally 4.10 sets summer BS meeting schedule.
Nope, we were gonna...
4.8.
4.8, yes, thank you.
Please.
Nope, that's not a problem.
The only thing, Mr. Chair, I had a question on, was there was a duplication on the list.
Okay.
Both you and I had the management information system, and I think that's supposed,
Well, that's, we changed, oh, I don't know, I don't have.
I mean, I think it was supposed to be the computer systems, you know,
That's what MIS is, yeah.
yeah, it's not always
I don't have mine,
management, but...
because I,
Here you go, this is what we, yeah, it's, that's
Oh.
just a...
is this the one that was changed?
Yeah,
That's the new
it had gotten,
Okay.
it had gotten
All right.
fixed, and I never noticed, you know what it was? I was going to contact these people and say, hey, would you like to meet?
All right.
And then I noticed that we both had it listed.
All right.
I'd be happy to take it, I
Yeah.
just don't think
All
it
right.
belongs on both lists.
Right. So.
Do you
what
need a
other-
vote on that?
What other list is it on? I don't follow you.
It's under...
See, it's under you,
Okay, all
and it's
right.
under me.
Gotcha now.
Where do you want it?
I don't know, to tell you the
Folks.
truth. The-
I mean, I have an MIS background, but...
Yes, and I think, actually, now that comes back to me, and I have to go very carefully here, I don't know if you've been updated since you come on. There's a situation with the MIS that I know the rest of the board's been advised of with a computer, and so until that's, yes. Okay, so I would ask Mr. Kryler outside the meeting, and I think it might be remedied by our next meeting, but I can't, because it would have to be an executive session to tell you why. Okay.
Okay, so do you want to take this up at the next meeting? And I'll
Yes.
just ignore that one for now?
Well, not ignore it, just leave it as to the
Well,
next
that-
meeting. Yes, okay.
In
But
other words, I won't contact anybody.
Right, so what I'm trying to say is, I appreciate that you noticed it's on 2 slips, but there was a reason that it was still here, and we just forgot to take it off of there.
Okay.
But in the future, I wouldn't have any problems with doing that.
All right, well, so maybe we can just put it on the next agenda.
Okay. And I would ask
Please.
I didn't know, I know when I came on board, I got an update on legals, and maybe that could be done for soon.
On that issue, there hasn't been, so I will.
Okay, so he'll arrange for an update on that for you.
Thank you.
No, thank you very much. I just want to be careful there, because
Yep.
Get my list back.
you should have your list back.
You should have another one. when you come.
I should. Thank you very much. Thank you for that, Sue and Cindy. I appreciate that, both of you. Okay, now we're going to 4.10. Since summer BOS meeting schedule, the other thing I will say is normally, in the past, since we can talk about this anytime it's not any kind of violation, is to do the schedule. We just found it's easier to work, because sometimes we're not sure, but I think we might need, I had heard July 22nd for our July meeting. Was that all right with you and Sue, or you don't know tonight? If not, we'll just let Jim know. I'm not ready for August yet. I hope it'll be the end of August. Because the staff and us are just burnt out, and to be quite, it's just been so many meetings. And the other thing is, all these public records requests, you have work you need to catch up on, so we need to give you a break.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, go ahead.
I wouldn't mind just
July what?
saying,
22nd.
That's
I don't know.
All right, well, take a second here, take your time. That's why we normally do it out of session, because everyone's got busy lives.
I just wanted to make
Okay.
sure
It's not a good
that
day.
we had
24th
stuff.
then,
That's a Monday.
Excuse me, 25th, yeah.
25th.
Jeez.
All right, so that's why we do it out of session,
Let
because,
me see,
you know.
let's see, dentist, no. Okay.
Well, it's not just for us, but it was for the public.
Yeah,
I think,
absolutely.
too.
We'll-
I see the 25th is good.
All right, well, see, what 25th would be good for me, but I'll see if so. If not,
Okay.
we'll, okay? All right, so we will
And
set
you
it
wanna
this time.
take a stab at
Wait,
one?
Andrea's on some committees here, so we might need her at that. That's why I'm asking her a question. Go ahead, Andrea.
If more municipal transfers come in, then you will have an emergency meeting?
Absolutely. And there may be a need. What we're trying to do is, truthfully, I'm a little burnt out the board, but more important, our staff is.
Yeah.
And due to an unusually high amount of workload, is I want to give them a chance to catch up on things they haven't got to, and also time off. So.
I was just afraid
No,
that
no,
you'd
that's-
forgotten about them, that's all.
Yeah, but those are valid things, and we would always make for quick meetings to do our due diligence, all right?
I
So,
think that the transfers can happen through the 15th, until the 15th of July.
Yeah, that's
To close out the previous fiscal year.
and both of you, thank you for your diligence. At this end of the year, there's a lot going on, we appreciate that. Thank you both. So the date is, Mr. Crowley, the 25th of July, and so we'll do that. And I would just ask both the members here, if they have anything they would like to be considered to be on the agenda, then maybe we do it the Wednesday before the Friday or whatever, so I can get it posted and look at it, to make it work for everybody. Does that work for you, Cindy and Sue? Okay. And, all right, so the 25th, folks, and it'll be posted, and then we'll do one for the end of August. Okay. Moving on to, thank you both for that. Let's see, 4:11. All right, so we're going to pick up where the conversation was. We have most of it done, and I will let Sue and Cindy chirp in, but I'm just keeping my train of thought here, is that my only concern is there's the 3 or 4 issues here, and then the labor issue. And but with the labor, we have to make sure they're represented, because, which is sort of strange, things sometimes only happen in Townsend, is that the union and majority of the board here actually are going to be representing the same point of view on the labor, which is normally not the case.
Right.
So that'll be interesting. And so if you can have conversations with them, and we look to have them come in on the 25th.
I was actually just thinking, does it make sense, because that'll be a pretty substantive discussion,
I'd like that on a separate day.
to try to do a separate thing with them, because it's going to be pretty meaty.
We're cutting down meetings.
All right. I'm not huffing to disagree with you, I'm just trying to give people a break here, you know, and,
I understand.
well, how about this? If it's all right with you two here, first find out if they're available and if they're willing.
Right.
And then on what subjects.
Right.
And then you can reach out, and scheduling, we can always do, folks, right?
Okay.
So why don't we do that? Find out, first of all, if they're willing and on what subjects. The only thing I would ask, only because you and me on that issue have hundreds and hundreds of hours in collective bargaining.
Right.
So I want to make sure that we're on terrified.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
But the other thing is, it's good to bring it forward here and just get the facts. So can we just, so everyone agrees here what the issues would be, is the water report, I don't know the official name of it, the audit, how they've implemented the recommended things for the thing, and the other is, there's another one,
The labor,
The labor.
labor, and is there anyone else?
just generally the issue of autonomy based
Oh,
on the
right,
town
okay,
meeting.
Town
stuff,
meeting.
what does it mean, right? Okay. And that almost, that last one may be one that we may need to have the labor lawyer here for, because he may have a different view of that.
That'll be
So labor.
completely the same issue as the labor issue.
Right, so those two need to be together, and the other two need to be together. I think we could be more, because if you have all four, we'll never get anywhere.
Right.
Well, if it's a single meeting, we might.
Well, if it's all, I don't see these being, I think each two is, I'm open to you two, I think each two is so impactful that it might be talk intensive. What do you three think, actually?
I'm thinking, well, my first question is, on some of the labor issues,
Yep.
particularly when we're into the union, should that be executive session between the two boards?
I think that we have to refer all the
Because-
councils.
It's not negotiations.
Not
It's
negotiation.
not
I mean, the
negotiation,
contract,
it's
the contract,
interpretation.
right, the contract's closed, it's
It's
signed.
interpretation.
Right, it's a
And
public
then-
meeting.
Okay, so that should be open.
It has to be. You're right, good point, but that's a good question.
I'm okay with scheduling
All right,
everything, but not necessarily being committed that we'll be here till 3 AM trying to
Right.
finish it up. That we could continue,
Right.
that if everybody thinks that it's meaty,
right. Could we,
that the two board, like Jim and whoever else he would be in contact with to do the scheduling, maybe be prepared, if everybody's prepared to set a second date if we have to
right,
continue it.
that's a good point. Sue?
A question for Jim. You had suggested ultimately to get everything done. Our town council, their person that they've acquired for council, and a union rep.
Those, to be clear, those are Superintendent Rayfuse's suggestions that came through Attorney Doucette.
Okay.
I personally don't think there's a need to have a meeting. I don't think there's a need to have legal counsel and spend the money. I think the law is pretty black letter and pretty clear.
Well-
However, we're at this standoff and just staring across the
Exactly.
divide. So if it takes putting lawyers at the table, then so be it.
It sounds like it might, okay? The other thing is, I agree that, we want an update on the survey results and, what the response is and all that. And I'm glad they said, let's wait, because we got to meet first. But I just want it to sound like it's an invitation to sit down and talk and resolve some questions that we all have. Because obviously they feel one way and, according to the contract, it looks another way. So we need to work this out and we need to sit and talk. And I think that the more of the players that need to be there, the better off. Let's just bite the bullet and get it done, and hopefully we can just get through it one night.
Cindy?
Yeah, I mean, if we can get through it in one night, but
Yeah.
because, there's concern, there is a lot of stuff.
Well, I mean, we could prioritize
That's on
the stuff,
on this
right?
list of meetings, so.
I would suggest that we stick issues until those issues are resolved or done, that we don't move to the next one.
Oh, right.
Oh,
Yeah,
you-
yeah.
oh, right,
But
you-
but I'm just
Oh,
saying
that's fine.
that
All right.
if we put everything on one night, which I'm fine with scheduling.
Right.
Scheduling, let's not try to have 2 nights, because if we get something done by 8 o'clock, it's, well, we might want to stay later.
Right.
But if we only have something on the agenda, but if we put everything down and say, we just have, if we can't get through it all, we move it to another night.
Well, and one thought is, and I'll stand corrected, on the water quality report, I don't know what the exact name is, and on the audit recommendations, those should be totally separate because they won't require lawyers.
That's correct.
All right, so I don't want to be paying town council, the union, that's their issue, but they don't want to be paying their lawyer. And then this Mr. Doucette, I don't know exactly, because I'm not back dating any checks for him, so. All right, that's a whole nother separate issue, is that I'm not want to, that we are incurring his bills.
Okay.
Well, that's one of the things you want to talk about.
Well, but that needs to be stated before he comes here, because I don't want it to any...
Implied that-
Imply that
That's consent.
he's here with consent, because that would make, that's labor law or legal contract law. Because I want it crystal clear that he's here at someone else's request, not ours. Right?
And I'm wondering, I mean, I don't, my question is partially rhetorical, but I'd like to, my suggested answer to my own question would be to defer to Jim to figure out the order of which one of those things need to go first, because the way we might handle the ones that we think don't require lawyers might be who has authority to have this conversation on the other things. So which ones do we have first, even though the DEP report and the audit are things that we want to get to sooner than later, but yet the labor issues do need, that, the article, is it Article 20?
Article 20.
That needs to be cleared up as far as the chain of command, so to speak, and the labor issue has to be dealt with pretty quickly, so whatever we do, they need to be dealt with very close to one another, but I'm thinking to defer to Jim to work it out with our town council.
And come back to us when...
To say, how do we handle this, or in agreement with them, that this is how we're going to proceed.
We need a plan, it's a very complex.
I did get a call from one of the commissioners today, a very positive conversation about wanting to work this schedule out. So I think that's a good idea, Cindy, is to give us a week or so to have those conversations between Paul and I, and he and his commissioners, to determine when people can even get in the room. But I think you're right to address the kind of the organizational issues before you try to address the administrative issues.
So, Gordy?
Yes, sir.
I'm thinking, I understand what you're saying about not wanting to pay the lawyers if they don't need to be here.
Well, but this is separate.
Right.
There's only one lawyer that we're responsible for, and that's town council.
Right.
But the other one, the labor lawyer, the union lawyer is their business.
So he doesn't,
Unless-
Mr. Jenkins doesn't need to be here for the report
Right.
part.
Correct.
Okay? So we could just,
And the audit,
yeah, and we could just ask for that information, respectfully request that information.
There's another lawyer that he's talking about.
Right, which we have to make clear he's not
No,
here.
that's not what I mean. If we take out those two things, the
Right.
audit and the survey,
Yes.
and simply send them a letter saying the Board of Selectmen would appreciate getting a report back from you as to what the disposition of these two things are.
Well,
And we could just put it on our regular meeting in July.
Because how
It's
are we
not
gonna
something
handle-
that we have to discuss.
Well, actually-
That's why I was deferring to Jim to sort out some of this stuff, because how we're going to proceed, the conversation, just the way the conversation will go about the audit and the DEP report would be dependent on how the organizational and the labor discussion turns out, because it's a chain of command issue.
May I?
Absolutely.
I don't see it as a chain of command. I see it as one board talking to another board. Okay? I see it as an invitation to a board that we were copied on something that is of concern to our town constituents, and that as a Board of Selectmen, we would appreciate getting a report of what their findings and actions are.
Well, if I could just intercede here before I forget, we've actually sent them a written request to be here tonight, to give us that's important. We gave them a written, made time for them on our busy schedule to alter for them to come and do that in person. Because, I don't know if it's serious or not serious, but I certainly think it would have been prudent to come before the public and tell them that the conversation, that these things noted as deficiencies are being addressed or not. So I think that they should have been here tonight to talk to us, to be quite honest with you.
Well-
And then the other thing is with the audit, when was that audit completed and the report given back?
I think it was March.
All right.
So it was February,
I'm
March.
very disappointed that this is the end of June, and they haven't implemented those changes. If you're at home and you buy 10 quarts of milk, and you don't know what 4 quarts of milk are, which is 40%, I would have already addressed that before 3 months have gone by.
Which is where we get
That's what in
back to-
layman's terms is, They have inventory, they have 10 quarts of milk, or whatever gadgets they have. They have no accounting for where 4 are. That's the problem, folks. That should have been already fixed by now. So they should be here tonight. They're not. I'm not going to get into that, but they should have been here tonight. And so I guess, can we just, because we're going to be here for, can we just ask Jim to start working out scheduling for this? I'd be in favor of that. How's the rest of the board? I think Cindy is, Sue?
Yeah, I'm fine with that. I just want it
Just
to be
report
an
back to us as soon as you
invitation.
can, please.
And this most recent communication was clearly in the form of an invitation, more than a declaration or, request from on
I just
high.
think you get-
I mean, the word invitation was
Yeah.
was intentionally used to show that it is 2 equal elected boards, and there are issues of question, if not concern, that they are better positioned to answer than the select board. There's been much ado about whether or not the sanitary survey is a public document or not, and who released it to whom and when and by what means, and there's been so much kicking under the table over issues in the town of Townsend over the last who knows how many months, that if people actually took a step back and took a breath and realized what the fight is being had over isn't even about what the issue is, because the fact is, it's a public document. And whether it was released by being dropped by, an airplane or, put online or whatever else, once it was received, it was a public document. And given the nature of the document and the words saying what they say, not imparting any of your own feeling or interpretation, but just the words as they are written, violations, notice of noncompliance, and
We really
fines.
shouldn't be talking about
Well,
that.
I think we should. I think we actually should. I mean,
Well-
because it is a public document, and it is a document of concern.
Can I just 1 second,
Chair.
please? Just 1 second, please. To the lady out here, I want to apologize to you, all right, because I want to take your question, but due to the intense non-civility lately during these meetings, tonight, people seem to be civil. I haven't been taking questions, and I can't just pick and choose who not to take them from. Last week, we had people threatening us during the meeting. That's not your case. I understand that. So I'm trying to explain to you why I'm not asking you questions. But I would encourage you to ask Mr. Crowley questions, and I will get back to you, all right? I'm hoping in the future that I can start opening up to questions from the audience, but due to the extreme non-civility, I can't just pick and choose. So because of, I'm trying to explain to you, ma'am, with all due respect, all right? But Mr. Crowley will be glad to take any questions after and get to us, one of us, all right? So I just try and not have you sit there and not give you a reason why, all right? I'm sorry, Sue, did you have something?
Yeah, I'm concerned about perception, because perception oftentimes becomes reality. And what I would prefer is they're an elected board, the same people elected them as elected the rest of us. And I just want to show respect to them for, yeah, okay, we got copied on this, and I'm just as concerned as the next guy, but I don't understand a lot of it. So let's let the experts read it, have their meeting. They don't have a meeting as quick as we had, so they have a meeting scheduled. Let them talk about it, let them figure out what they need to do and what their official response is, just like we would ask for that courtesy. So I'm just trying to be courteous. I understand people's concerns. I understand, yeah, it's public, but let's give them the benefit of the doubt, let the board meet, let them do their job, and then go from there.
And I would
That's all I'm saying.
Cindy, if I just go ahead of you a little bit here, if you don't mind. I would tend to understand some of that, but there's 2 issues I have. One, they were invited here, and the other is that we're forgetting about this. I don't know if this is a public safety health thing or not. And so this waiting for all these things, I think they had an obligation to come before us here, recommended, because there are violations. I don't know what the violations mean, but I think they have a responsibility to come and tell the public whether this is a public safety health effect or not. That is reality, it's not perception. They have an obligation to assure the public that this report that they're addressing, this can't wait 2 or 3 weeks. Maybe it can, but if they were here, they could tell the water is safe, it's not safe, it is. I don't have those facts. So some things have to be addressed right away, I believe. And when it's public safety or public health, those cannot wait. They should be here tonight to reassure the public and have a nice, pleasant conversation, but it was their responsibility, and we set time aside to do that. Public health and public safety don't wait for anybody. So if it's all right with the board, Mr. Crowell, last thing, please.
Yeah,
here.
just one thing to Sue's point. Sue, I agree with perception becoming reality, and I think this is a byproduct, this issue is a byproduct of the bigger issue that's going on about what the town meeting vote meant and who is responsible to who and how. And I think it's unfortunate, because when the invitation was made, both verbally and in writing, and it was just at an invitation, it was declined. It wasn't declined with, and by the way, you should know. Now, this is Saturday morning, I got the email. By the way, you should know, Jim, and please inform the board on Tuesday night, that everything is in order, and the water is safe, and there are no concerns, and we won't be fined. Instead of getting that, it was the, we decline, and you're welcome to come to our meeting. So perception and civility and all the rest goes both ways. So what
I think
frustrates...
we need some communications classes.
But if I can finish. Shortly thereafter, it was posted for the world to see through social media, everybody's best friend, that there are no violations that are a threat to the public or the water, that there will be no fines, and I, as your superintendent, assure you of that. Wouldn't it have been so much easier if on Saturday afternoon, Mr. Rafuse knew those facts, to have shared them with his declination of attendance of the meeting, so I could then have shared that? Because I would have got right back to you and said that. And so much of this could have been nipped at the bud. But instead it was, we're not coming to your meeting.
Can I add, I'd like to kind of reverse this a little bit, to say that if we had just, if we were the board, and we received a copy of this with, as well as the Board of Health and the Water Commissioners, and as the chief executive officers of this town, that we're responsible for everything, if we had unilaterally decided, oh, let's not tell the public about this, let's wait until we talk to the water department, and that if we kept quiet about it, didn't put it on our agenda, didn't tell us so, said, okay, this sounds important, but let's wait to see what the water says, and then somehow it could still get out from anybody, get out like it's going to be a leak. It's a public document. If we withheld it from the public, what would the community be saying to us? We'd be guilty of withholding important information from the public. So I'm glad it got out, that it not got out. I'm sorry to keep saying that. It's out. It's a public document. I think it'll be on the website very shortly, because it's a very important, the public deserves to know. You know, and there's nothing in it that says that don't drink the water. It doesn't say anything like that. But it has significant violations and deficiencies that we need to address. And as the chief executive officers of this town, I insist that we do. And we need to quickly get those other issues dealt with to decide how that's going to work, because the health and safety of the town is important. And we need, on behalf of the water takers, and of which I'm one, that if there's there are no fines scheduled, but there are the threat of fines that are quite significant. And our water bill is, we might debate that, but I think my water bill is reasonable right now. It won't be if this doesn't get addressed. So I don't want to keep going on about the report itself, but we are responsible, so any actions that we request or take, I think we're responsible to do that, because if we hadn't, we'd be having a different conversation with members of the community. Now, we leaked a public document that, why didn't you let us know? It would be a different story. So I'd like to move from this and get this meeting scheduled, and we're taking it off the agenda as it is.
Okay, I would like to, with one quick question, clarification for myself, move on to the next agenda. And Mr. Crowley will do everything he's ever to proceed this forward. My question is, just because I don't have the facts, and I like facts, is what was the date that the superintendent received this report, and when was his board advised, and when were we advised? Was there a 2-week delay? Or not?
The letter is dated the 9th of June. The cover letter indicates that it was sent to Mr. Rafuse via email. I don't know that it was, because I wasn't the sender. I know that we received it Tuesday of last week, and it was forwarded to you that afternoon.
All right. So at some point, because I like facts, I think everyone, whether they like that or not, that's how I work, if you could just find out when it was received by somebody in this town and when the boards were notified. The water commissioners, that's all. So we'll move on. Thank you, everyone, for your patience. We are now at, help me out here, folks.
One last point, Mr. Chairman, and I apologize, but I intend to attend the Water Commissioners meeting when they take this up, whenever that
That's
meeting
fine.
is
I
being
mean,
held.
at this point, I have a problem us even talking about the report, okay? Because we took that off the agenda. What we're supposed to be talking about is just the meetings and setting up the meetings. So when we start getting into the details and saying what our opinion is without them sitting here, without the benefit of having that conversation, which they declined, I understand, we should not be talking about it. Okay, so I feel like that's a violation in terms of what we have posted and what we said we were going to talk about. It's not fair.
4.12, are we ready to move on, please? Review and approve request to hold the Greg's Reeves Run on October 7th, 2017, and close Brookline Street from Main Street to Highland Street from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. Any questions?
I do have a question. Usually we have a letter or something from them having requested it.
Just received a phone call.
Oh, okay, okay. Do you need anything signed from us? Usually there's something, I know that they usually involve the chief too.
The road closure, they would.
Yeah.
I would think, just to expedite matters, if it'd be the board's pleasure, a vote contingent upon satisfying the chief's concerns and getting a writing from the group.
Yeah, but we usually get a letter, and part of it, I think they usually copy the chief too, so I just wanted, because I didn't get a backup.
The gentleman who's running it this year, this is his first year.
Oh, okay,
He took
that
it
might,
over, so I think that's why.
So are you comfortable
Okay.
going forward without the letter, Sue, or do you want to put it
no,
on
I'm
to next
comfortable
meeting?
as long as between Jim and Kelly, they
Okay.
can figure out.
But if you're not comfortable without the backup, I'll put it off to the next meeting.
No, I'm fine, I just want to make sure that the chief's involved.
All right, good, we can put that in the motion if you like.
So I move that the board approve the request to hold the Greg Reeves Run on October 7th, 2017, and to, with the approval of the police chief, to close Brookline Street from Main Street to Highland Street from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m.
Second.
Motion's been made and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And Chief, you'll be in contact, well, I'll make sure they get in contact with you. Thank you for that, Chief. 4.13, review, approve municipal relief transfers for fiscal year 17 year end, referencing various departments. Mr. Kryler.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The first is Board of Assessors, coming at the signature of the Principal Assessor, Vicki Tidman, and they're looking for a requested amount of $150 transferred to professional services from the wages support staff, and that is to cover the cost of maps within that line.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, do you have any questions, Sue?
No?
Cindy, are you all set?
Yep.
Okay,
It's pretty routine.
okay. Just want to make sure everyone's, motion, please.
So I move that the board approve the request for a transfer of appropriations in accordance with Chapter 77, Acts of 2006, for $150 to be transferred from the wages and support staff account into the professional services account.
Second.
Oh, second, sorry.
Motion's been made second, all in favor?
Aye.
The record shows unanimous.
Okay, you next have two from the Council on Aging, and they are both for wages. One is in the amount of $363.04 to be transferred to COA operational staff from health insurance to complete the fiscal 17 payroll. And the other comes in at the amount of $544.31 to COA director line from health insurance. And those come in at the request of the Council on Aging.
I have a question.
Sure.
I know we just have copies here, but I actually have two questions. One is, it's not checked off at the top, and it should be, the first one, last 2 months transfer should be checked off on the original,
Gotcha.
okay? And the second thing is, this is signed by the chair of the Finance Committee prior to our signing. I thought that we needed to sign it first.
I don't believe so. I think it's,
Not that I know of.
so long
Audrey is
as,
the expert on this, and she's left, right?
so long as both are affixed by the 15th Everything is copacetic.
Oh, I thought, I mean, it always used to be that the board signed it first and sent it on to the FinCon.
I think it depends on the
Yeah,
schedule.
that just may have been a sequencing issue.
So,
We had ours Thursday.
so just to clarify, if the finance board believes that doing this way would be all right, Mr. Kryler and Cindy believe who's been there would be all right. So I would be comfortable, based upon your three opinions and on Sue's question, that we move forward with.
And if we find out for some reason that the order needed to be the other way, they will be meeting again anyway, and they could reaffirm.
Okay.
And if you could ask our expert, Andrea,
Yeah.
for future clarification. Thank you.
She's been doing it longer.
Here she is, diligently.
Okay, yeah, if, as long as Mr. Carter checks that out. And
Absolutely.
if you need
Cindy,
to.
any questions? Okay, we entertain a motion, please.
And we'll do these separately, I assume. So I move that the board approve the request for a transfer of appropriations in accordance with Chapter 77 of the Acts of 2006 for the amount of $363.04 to be transferred from a health insurance account to the Council on Aging operational staff account.
Second, sorry.
Motion's been made and second, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Let the record show it's unanimous. Next, please.
I apologize for just kind
There's
of...
a lot going on, a lot of paperwork.
It's,
Thank you for
but
being-
they're so routine, I was not even...
Next, you should see in your packet, comes in from the police department.
I didn't
We
do
have
the
another
other
one
one.
to do for the, yeah.
I apologize.
I move
right.
that we approve the request for transfer of appropriations in accordance with Chapter 77 of the Acts of 2006, the amount of $544.31 to be transferred from health insurance account to the Council on Aging Director account.
Second.
Motion's been made and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Let the record reflect that it's unanimous. Mr. Kryler, please.
Thank you. Next, you should see one in your packet from the Police Department Chief Bailey, and this is an amount requested of $25,000 to be transferred to professional services, transferred from support staff, and the box is ticked last 2 months of the fiscal year. And this is in order to cover the invoice for an invoice from Billingsgate Associates LLC, and a copy of that invoice is attached.
Do we have a motion? Or any questions?
Not a money.
Agreed.
I move that the board approve the transfer of appropriations in accordance with Chapter 77 of the Acts of 2006 for the amount of $25,000 to be transferred from support staff and to be transferred to the professional services account.
Seconded?
Second.
Motion's been made and second, all in favor? Aye. Do the record reflect that it's unanimous? Do you have anything more, Mr. Kryler?
Yes, there was one other that I'm not certain that had made it into everybody's packet, and if it'd be a preference to take it up after, it's the Treasurer Collector's Office had submitted for a transfer of $8,000 from Medicare Town Share to be transferred from health insurance, and $8,000 for Medicare Town Share transferred from short-term interest.
I have one.
But one of them.
It may have been a double-siding issue. Both had been submitted, and this is to cover the actual cost of Medicare based on our payroll this past year.
Sue, any thoughts?
I don't have any problem. I have one of them here. This one is transferred from health insurance town share to Medicare town share, $8,000.
Yep. And the other is transfer from short-term interest to Medicare Town Share, being transferred into the same location from a different location.
With,
How much?
8,000 again. 16 is the
So we
total.
needed 16,000
Correct.
additional.
so, whether after or whatever, you can just make a copy and get it to the board members. Would that be all right with you, Sue?
That's fine. It's the same
Would that be all
amount,
with
right?
you? I will entertain a motion. Both-
Can I do them both together?
You can do whatever is
Okay.
legal and makes it easier for you.
Okay, I move that the board approve the transfer of appropriations in accordance with Chapter 77 of the Acts of 2006 for $8,000 to be transferred from health insurance town share to Medicare town share account, and $8,000 to be transferred from short-term interest account to the Medicare town share account.
Second.
Second.
Motion's been made, second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Is that it, Mr. Crowell, for that?
That is all we have for those, yes, sir.
If I could just, yes, I think we have a question.
One more, did you see it, Carolyn, for the Townsend reading room?
Did not see it yet, so there'll probably be a couple of stragglers yet that we'll have to hit.
Yeah, Andrea's got a copy of it.
Okay.
We realize how valuable Andrea is tonight, aren't we?
I know where she is.
There'll be a couple of stragglers still that we'll have to get back together on short.
We'll put them all together, and if that's okay with everybody or not.
Because we've got till the 15th
Right.
anyway.
Right,
Does that work for you?
yeah. Although you're not coming back, but you will make
Yeah,
a
before the
meeting.
15th, just for that purpose.
We may have like a couple 5-minute meetings just to
Yeah,
do the people's business.
okay. Because if it's okay for us to sign it first, because we're going to meet and go over that one. And
Okay.
then those were all signed by us, correct?
Yes,
Not all of them.
No?
two of them were, I believe.
2 of them were.
Yeah.
Can you sign this so they can take them to their meeting?
Sure. Mr. Crowley, am I all set with this
You're
here?
good to go.
Okay, folks, just give me a moment, please. I think just my signature you need, right?
Yeah.
Could you do me a favor before I leave here? Make sure, because I'm not going to be around much, so you don't chase me down. Okay. We're going to move forward in a second here. Just go back quickly to one thing, just for a little clarification. Is that we're working out the process here with the board, and I think within the next couple of meetings, we'll have it down. That's why I'm trying to stay with the system, so I don't forget, and to be fair to everybody. But going back to, give me a second, please, to 4.11, where it says discuss dates for planned meetings with water commissioners. I just want to make a little, not editorial, but comment, is we would seem that we might have got off track there, but in reality, to do that planning, there were so many issues with that. That's why those things had to be brought up. So I would not think that, even, we always want to be cautious, but to plan those dates, we actually had to talk about those issues, so that's why they were brought up. So without that, I'll move forward now to, let's see, Town Administrator, we took you off tonight, right? And so Board of Selectmen update. Sue, do you have anything?
The only thing that I would request is to take what we had for 4.9 and put it on a future agenda, please.
All right, if you,
I might request that from the chair.
absolutely, what I said earlier was if the, whatever the date would be before the 25th, if we could have all requests in by the Wednesday before that, and we'll see how that works out.
This is before that. I'm just asking for it now, that's all.
Again, I'm just going to try to have a, because there's been a little change in how we've done the agenda in the last week or so, so I just want to set it up so we're all on the same page. So if we could, for the future, till we feel out how we want to get this done, if we could just do it the Wednesday before, and then it'll be printed the agenda on Thursday at 4. I'll have a chance to review it, it's my responsibility, and then we'll work together. There's no attempt here not to do it, but we have to be efficient, and we also have to make sure that we're not covering things already covered, right?
And could I request something as well?
You requested?
Is there any way that we could get our packets that Friday?
I think if you could
Before
talk to
the
Mr.
meeting?
Kryler, he'll work on that. How's
Well, I
that
know, but I think it's important that you guys hear my
You email
request.
them out on Friday
I think
normally.
we had 'em.
It's
Yeah,
paper.
they've been coming.
You want it in paper.
Yeah, because what I found is that sometimes there's stuff missing from it on the online version, or, the Google Drive thing. And I'd like to have the paper in front of me and make sure that everything should be together if we're
When are the hard
doing it on
copies-
Friday.
When are the hard copies done?
Today was late, but normally I try to have them done by Monday, but I can have them done on Friday.
It's just that gives me the
And then if
weekend,
anything straggles,
it gives me the weekend to look through it, and it doesn't tie me to, Monday night or Tuesday morning to do it.
Absolutely.
I would appreciate it.
Absolutely. And just to go back in time, it's the first time I had a meeting with Mr. Crowell when he first came to us during a difficult time. And one thing I remember he said to us is that each one of the selectmen here, I'm responsible to all of you, you will have a different form of communication. Some like face-to-face, some like email, some like this. So as Sue's come to us now, and us, you'll learn what our needs are to do our job effectively. And I know these two here will do everything in their power to enable us to do
Yeah,
our
it would
jobs. So
just
that's
help
just
me.
about how, we all have, I like face-to-face and some things, some people like this. So it's just about learning what we need to do our job for the people. And these two, I know, will do everything in their efforts to facilitate that.
Mr. Chairman, on the issue of the change, the reference change in how we've done the agenda this last time,
Yes.
I just wanted to publicly apologize because I took it upon myself to put things on the agenda that had been requested by other members, and I didn't consult with you. And I should have, because the policy says in consultation with the chair. And I apologize to you publicly for that, because I know that it deviated from how things had been done.
Okay.
My intention wasn't to undercut your authority under the policy, and I apologize that it just didn't go the way it should have.
Well, thank you for that, but you've always wanted to take full responsibility for anything that goes in your office, but I took no offense to it, but as Sue says, perception's reality, and I just want everyone to know that I'm treating them fair, but on the other hand, it's my job.
Absolutely.
And it will be Cindy's soon enough, and then Sue's, is to take the responsibility to, there's a lot going on here. And
Absolutely.
this last year has not been a normal amount of going on, and so people are burned, so I just want to keep, so that we're communicating, but that we're following the laws and protocols. So thank you for that, as always, and thank you to the two board members here as we work this out. Yes, you have another thing.
One last thing, in the same vein as taking responsibility, if I could ask the chair's permission to have an addition, which is something that I would like to have offered under my town administrator's report that we've since removed, but it's just one very brief issue, but I think it's important.
Yes, I would at this time just ask Sue and Cindy if they don't mind if I allow the town administrator to put on one thing for his administrator, his report, and we took off already. That'd be all right with you?
What, for tonight, you mean?
Yeah, just right now, very
Oh,
short.
I don't have
He
a
just wants to follow the numbers.
Thank you. It came in after the setting of the agenda, but it has since come in, and it's an open meeting law complaint that had been filed by Veronica Kell. This one goes back sometime, I believe it's a March 3rd original file, and then a subsequent related file on April 5th. And just today, in the mail hard copy, we received a notice from the Division of Open Government that there were violations found with Ms. Kell's complaint. Specifically, the period of time that it took to get the minutes completed was beyond what is reasonable. That is something, if you go back to the minutes or watch the video online, we had a meeting back in early April where we put, I want to say, 20-some-odd sets of minutes on from the backlog. At that point in time, I took responsibility for the fact that that shouldn't have taken that long. And I want to restate that again this evening, that this is a set of minutes that are part and parcel of that whole backlog. So we did have a violation that came through in that regard, and I wanted to give it fair air, as I have with the others that have come back that have been no violation.
Well, thank you for that. And the only thing I'll let Sue and Cindy have any comments. The only thing I would say is that if we did a survey, I don't have any facts, of what our percentage is for this type of work, that thing is that if it continues, we may have to budget more hours in that office, because it's just unreasonable for the staff to do that. But I thank you, as always, for taking responsibility for your office, and I don't think it's due to lack of work ethic, that's too much work. Sue, do you have any comments?
No, I'm all set.
Cindy?
You don't happen to have it with you, do you?
I do.
Oh, I'm just wondering, usually they have a determination that says how they rule it, like...
Yes.
If you're really bad, you have a willful violation, what do they call it?
They say at the end, for the reasons stated above, we find the board violated the open meeting law by failing to properly respond to the request and failing to create or approve the June 7th, 16 minutes in a timely manner. We order the board's immediate and future compliance with the law's requirements, and we caution that similar future violations could be considered evidence of intent to violate the law. We now consider this complaint addressed by this determination, and this determination does not address any other complaints that may be pending. Please feel free to contact if you have any questions.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, we'll go back to the agenda here, if that's all right. And where we're at. So we're at Board of Selectmen announcements and updates and reports. Sue?
I'm all set, thank you.
Thank you. Cindy?
I'm all set.
I just have one quick thing, and this is more to give an update to my two board members here, just to let you, because we don't get the chance to talk. I just want to let you know that I've requested from the town administrator and the chief of police that after, when was our executive session? What day was that, last week?
Last Tuesday, the 21st.
And we were here till midnight, that at the end of the meeting, I went outside into the lobby here, and I witnessed a citizen in a very loud, threatening vote with threatening manner, waving similar to this, indicating in a slanderous tone and threatening that threatening an employee of Mr. Kryler's office, and also threatening Mr. Kryler. And later that night, the only reason I bring this up, 30 minutes after, those threats were made involving a person who is a plaintiff in civil rights action federal court. This greatly concerns me because it could be taken as intimidation of witnesses or a plaintiff in civil rights things. I would like Judge Wolf and the Department of Justice notified of this occurrence, and I would also like them notified 30 minutes after everyone left the building. Police report's been filed in Ashby, and I believe Townsend, that Mr. Crowley's car was attempted to cause him harm and run him off the road. I cannot talk about what happened during the executive session, but I think these four things may tie together, enough to cause me to ask them to refer to the proper federal authorities, including Chief Justice, who came out of retirement, Wolf, and whatever you think, to make them aware of these events. That's all I'm asking. So I'm just telling you so you two know that I made that request out of courtesy to you two. All right, so I have nothing more.
Thank you.
Thank you. And then 5.3, approval of meeting minutes, June 13, 2017.
Mr. Chairman, if we could have leave to take those up at the next meeting, there are a couple of matters I need to address within them.
My only question is, will we be within the time frame?
We'll be okay.
Yeah, that's the most recent.
Well, I'm just trying to have a learning moment here. So if that's all right with
Yeah,
Sue
we can
and
pass
Cindy,
over that.
that would be fine with the board. Thank you for that. And then 5.4, review and sign payroll and bills payable warrants. I will take a motion on that.
I move that the board review and sign the payroll and bills payable warrants out of session.
Second.
Yeah, I'll second that it's only the bills payable.
Oh,
Okay, as amended. All in favor?
aye.
And then we're moving on to 6 on our agenda, executive sessions. Votes may be taken. Executive session pursuant to general laws, Chapter 30A, Section 21A, 3, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on bargaining position, and the chair so declares. The chair does declare that, and this will be referencing a grievance with the police department. Will we be adjourning from executive session?
Yes.
Not coming back?
Yeah, coming back.
Okay, so this requires a roll call vote?
Correct.
So I move that the board go into executive session pursuant to General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A, 3, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining position, and the chair so declares, in regards to a grievance from the police department. And we will not be returning to open session.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. This requires a roll call vote. Sue Lizio.
Sue Lizio, aye.
Cindy King, aye.
Gordon Clark, aye. Thank you, folks, and let the record show it's unanimous to go into executive session.